Welcome to the Man-Ology Project podcast. I am your host, Quentin Crumby, and on this channel, we're going to be discussing what true manhood looks like as we understand our value, our identity, and our purpose as men using godly principles. Now let's get to it. I'm your host, Q, and once again, we got big Mr. For Real himself, Lansburg Petway, in the house with us.
What's up, peeps?
What's going down, big dog?
Going down, man. It's all good, baby.
Everything's good this way. Still quarantining. Quarantine.
What day is it? 62,
yeah. Quarantine style up in this piece, but we found a new way to be able to still talk to the people about some good information. And tonight, dudes, we're just gonna really jump right on into this because we got a good topic for this evening. But we just really wanted to talk about being stubborn and prideful, and then how do we change? So how do we change? Or how do we change our mentality around our stubbornness, or our pridefulness? And then we also want to touch a few spots on where that actually comes from. Like, where is that actually birthed, out of? If I was a pastor preaching, where was that birth? So, and then get an understanding on where stubbornness or pridefulness can actually be birthed out of, and then how do we change, and how does it actually is a disadvantage for us? Like, where does it really penetrate us? So what are your thoughts around, or how do you, well, let's start with, how do we get to pridefulness? As a man, we got duties. And so,
duties, right?
We're trying to be, we got to run homes, we got businesses, we got all this stuff going on. And, from the beginning, we kind of feel like we know what we want to do. We may know if we're going in the right direction or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. So where, if I'm a man and I get caught up into stubbornness and pridefulness, what will be some red flags to say that, for some of us out here, men, that if we see ourselves in this light, that we need to shut it down. So what do you think are some of those red flags?
Well, I think pride can be nurturing as well as poisonous.
Okay.
And I say that the nurturing part is because you take pride in your appearance, you take pride in your work, you take pride in how you do things and how you present yourself.
Right.
It could be, I guess, associated with confidence, a certain confidence that you have. Athletes always have a certain confidence that they believe that they're the best at that position. And with that being said, you put in the work to be the best. So you back it up. But I think it can get polluted, and this is where the poison comes in, when you start trying to overcompensate for your shortcomings.
Right.
When you start to dominate and people can't share ideals with you, you can't be wrong. It's your way or the highway. It's often driven by, sometimes you can have a poor self-worth or insecurities.
Right.
So you don't want to get to that point. So when you start getting to the point, we always got to do a self-check. Look at that man in the mirror and start listening to what people are saying. And those people could be your coworkers. If you're a CEO, it could be your vice president, your CFO. If it's your marriage, which is a business as well, it could be your CFO, your chief executive, or financial officer, your wife, or your kids, and start listening to those slight signals that you hear, where you could say, "Wow, is it always my way?" Even when you said just a few minutes ago that you can't expect 3 different boys to do things my way.
Right.
And that was a quick revelation for me, even. And that's for real.
Right.
Because I think as parents, I guess we kind of jumping all around. There is an expectation.
Right.
At work, there's an expectation.
Right.
I think for yourself, you should have an expectation. I operate out of the expectation or standard of excellence. Okay.
Right.
That doesn't mean perfect.
Right.
That means just always striving to be the best.
Right.
So with that, I think sometimes you can get polluted. The pride can get polluted when you start not self-checking or even listening to others.
Right. Because striving for excellence, what you're saying, that like striving for excellence can actually be that borderline. You know, I think when you do put the pressure for excellence in your home, because I'm right there with you. I mean, I only have one son, but I do push for excellence in there. But I think when pushing for that excellence, where that line, you know, gets a little blurry, is that when our sons actually have an idea,
Right.
you know, so we're pushing for this, you know, for this goal, because dad is dad, and I want to make sure you become something, right?
Right.
But then in the midst of that push, and they come to you and say, hey, I think A, B, and C might work if I do A, B, and C, and you disrespectful or disregard even the presence or the thought of them having their own mind.
God forgive.
I mean, really, you know what I'm saying? Like, forgive us all. It's like,
right.
really quick, because just becomes over fathering. That's like a something that I've been really watching with my own stuff, is that I've always said I don't want to over father my son. So I don't want to take my father position and then go beyond the markers of being, you know, help. Right, exactly. I want to be and stay in a position of help. I want to be a helper to him. And so the Bible speaks of a couple of different things. So it tells us that we should never be provoking our sons as fathers.
Yeah.
So, so when we get into pride, it automatically will put us in a position to where we're now provoking, because pride has some very, you know, red flags there, which is like disrespect.
Disrespect.
So disrespect of your feelings, your thought process, or whatever. So what I look at us, and we were just talking about that, but it's like one son is one thing, but then when you have three sons,
they're totally different.
It's and everybody is a different kid, but yet
perspective, different mindset, and you can't. And then what I'm trying to balance is, if one gets it, and one is like, no, this is what dad said.
Right.
Bam. This is my child. This is my favorite son.
Right.
The other two are doing whatever.
Right.
You still have to encourage and father them,
right,
to the point where they understand it. Now, they might not do it as
right,
quick as this one,
right,
or the same way that they do it.
right.
You made a key point about over fathering. I think as parents, there's different phases, and I got this from a friend of mine whose children are grown, but we're all the same age.
Right.
So, but her youngest is 22, and she said there's different phases where you're parent, you're teaching, you're hovering, then it's to the point where you kind of coach them,
right,
and then it's to the point, she kind of broke it down for me, being in the athletic world. Then you become a manager, okay,
right.
And then when you leave that point, you just become a GM. They ask you for advice, you tell them what you think, but then they have to make their own decisions.
Right. And so and like this right here is like so they I just pulled up something to talk about some red flags for a prideful person. And so this one right here just stood out to me, because it's like they can't take responsibility for their action. And so that was so that's a big one, because so with our kids, and I don't know why we're sticking with the kids. This must be somebody out there must need to hear a prideful thought process behind handling or dealing with their kids at different stages. But if you're wrong as a parent, you should be able to have enough humility to know that even with your kids, you should be apologizing.
You should be apologizing.
You should apologize. Listen,
my bad.
I goofed up, man. I thought that this was the best way. It
Yeah.
wasn't. Dad apologizes for it because that also then uh, takes away that dictatorship. Uh,
Yeah. It
it peels
does.
back a layer of you building yourself up in a prideful way or in a stubborn way, which is even though even though your life is screwed up, I'ma still hold to my thing to say that what I said was still right, even though
Right.
there's no base evidence to show that what you said actually was right. Because I'm in a pickle right now. I'm not in college. I'm not in dental school. I mean, whatever the case may be, that you were directing your child and they didn't meet that goal,
Right.
and they told you about a few things along the way that they probably needed or didn't need, and you didn't care about that because it was this is the way to go because
This
I
is the way
said
to
it
go.
is the way to go. And then what happens is that when your child is not where you thought that they should be, if you're not thinking apology, then you're prideful.
Man, you're prideful. And that has to be built up on small things. I was thinking about something while you were saying that is I had directed them to do one of my sons, I think Langston, to do something. And I came down thunderous. And it was and then either he didn't have to do it or it was already done. And I was like, you know what, my bad. I'm sorry. He's like, okay, yeah. But
Right. It's like, cool,
but
Dad.
it could have been a straight prideful, stubborn, okay, well, yeah, you should have did it. You
Right.
should. It could have continued down that mark
Right.
of being a prideful or stubborn, or in your words, fatherly. If I wanted to just be the dad,
Right.
and but he had did it already, whatever the case may be. But I took the initiative to
Right.
just step back and say, I apologize. I shouldn't have yelled because you had did it already.
Yeah. Or even just like this one right here was a funny one. It says they want to be with you 24/7. You know, once again, going back to boys, it's like, I remember Q turned about 12 and his friends had a birthday party. And
Hmm.
so he had never really kind of went to a birthday party or anything. So um, the dad was like, yo, man, could Q come through, hang out, whatever. So I just said, yeah. So Melissa, man, she come back like, yo, he's going over there. You
Hmm.
know, he is he gonna just stay over there? Just going on and on about it. But I had to figure out when it was time to do a separation.
Right.
Like I said about that father, it's like, okay, so you're a dad. So when did it become over fathering? So when do I step into a position of pride to where I now am the dictator of which way or how long? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not giving you any air because once you start doing that, there's no area to grow.
Right.
And
There
and
we
then
go.
basically I'm kind of living out probably something that happened to me back in the day. So you mentioned two things: insecurity or no self-worth. And
No
so
self.
somewhere back in my life, somewhere maybe I got zapped of self-worth. Maybe somebody didn't allow me to have a voice, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
And so all my life I felt like, when I get older, I'm gonna make sure my kids have a voice, blah blah blah. And then you turn around and you're the same as the very person who shut your voice out.
Yeah.
Because basically we learn by behavior in our homes. It's like nothing new. Like it actually takes more to be somebody different
Yeah.
than it takes for you to actually just repeat what you were
Speak,
accustomed to.
speak
And that's
what you're accustomed to.
right. So if you're accustomed to your dad being a dictator, no matter what you try to do, if you don't accept Christ to actually change the whole, because that lineage got to be changed. Like somebody's got to sever a tie because
Right.
you'll just repeat it. And the thing is that no self worth is a real bad. If you don't see yourself as anything, pride tells me to beat somebody else down so that I can
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah.
And we
It's the love of one's own excellence.
right.
That's what.
I was going to say that love for my own self, which
Yeah.
is, if I'm married, it's like my husband is always talking down to me. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. He's probably got some type of pride. He probably doesn't really like himself that much. Like
Yeah.
prideful people really don't really care for themselves as a whole. That's why it's a
And then they
facade.
have problems with other people who might have characteristics
Right.
that they wish they had or could display.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a
And
whoa.
you know,
That's
this
a
person
whoa.
this person has some of the characteristics that I would like to have.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I would like to have, even though I have all of this.
Right.
I'm very successful. I have all these accolades.
Right.
I'm still going to hold this person back
Right.
because I'm insecure.
Right.
And I've seen so many leaders do that in different perspectives in life. Hold people back or hold them down,
right.
or don't encourage those people and put them in the right positions
Right.
for that person to be successful, not
Right.
for the success that you want for your own benefit,
Right.
or so you can keep a thumb on them,
Right.
so that person can really grow and thrive. But
Right.
based on your where is it? Your insecurity and your own lack of self-worth, you put that person down,
Right.
and you don't open up to other ideals. We both have corporations, businesses, brands, and those came, I believe, from God. They came to us.
Right.
With that, we had mindsets of where we wanted them to go, right? What
Mm-hmm.
they want them to look like, what you want your logo to look like, and all of that. But you still have the opportunity to sit down with people, communicate, and let them share their ideals of what they can see it can become.
Right.
And not say or just close it off like, no, this is what I want. This is the only way it's going to happen.
Right.
And that's when you
Can't
can
do that.
slide into that pridefulness.
Yeah. Like I was looking on here too. It's like so deep. This is like another one, which is they keep you from your friends and family. Like uh, that's like some deep stuff uh, for a prideful person to want to lock you away, from uh, just another hand on that dictatorship, man. It's like,
Right.
um, and or it goes back to what you said, which is I see somebody over here with something that I like, and I don't like that they have it.
I don't like
And
it to
so,
happen.
and I don't want you to be around them because they pose a threat on something that I either want or I'm doing. And
Yeah.
so that becomes a pickle that you would hold, like you would hold your sons from being with my son,
Yeah.
because my
Because of,
son, your sons want to become an NBA player. My son is an NBA player. So you don't want my son to talk to my son because basically, you know, we don't really care about what Q doing. I I don't want y'all talking to him, even though he could help you.
right.
like even though this dude is in the NBA and he could actually help you get there, but my pride and my disgust for the fact that they are successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's really what it is that I'm disgusted at the fact that they're successful and I am not, or my boys are not. And so, what I'm gonna do is, since I can't touch them because they've already moved on in success, is that now I'm just gonna go back within and I'm gonna hold you guys from going over there. So it won't be no connection, none, like no connection at all from that. And then, and which is tied into like the number two, which is they don't support your ambition. So now, you know, at the end of it, basically, you can't go see Q. And you know what? Y'all ain't playing basketball no more. It's like, wait a minute, Dad. It's like,
Going
yeah.
too far.
And the thing is this, and listen, and then the thing is that your boys actually are really good basketball players and actually have a shot. But the thing is that pridefulness and that insecurity of your own self against that father whose son has already made it, you can't even see that your own boys are really good and actually have a shot. Like you don't
Yeah.
even see it because basically all you can see is their success. I don't have it. I'm insecure. I don't know. The pride I think always leaves you in a haze because you really can't pinpoint when the pride. Like I think you said, it starts with these small things, and I think
Small,
that
small things, right.
if you can't apologize, okay, like this is a small thing. If you can't find yourself being apologetic for things, pride would have the easiest way to step into your life
Yeah.
if you can't be apologetic for anything. I don't care if you stepped on somebody's shoe by mistake. You should see it as the worst thing that you've done and say, I'm sorry. Not, you shouldn't have had your foot there. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
pride I have like pride I have you thinking, you know, you should have had your foot there versus I'm sorry that I stepped on your foot. So
Right.
uh
And the
which
fact that, not to cut you off, but I was just thinking um, that even your success could kind of lead you down a prideful state. You know,
yeah,
if you're being successful in the workplace, you're getting these accolades, pay raises, your company is successful based upon what you're doing and
right.
have done, or you're an athlete, you're having all these success. You can almost get to the point where you become prideful and start to believe in your own, that you did it all, that this is
Right.
me. You know what I'm saying? I'm responsible for all of
Right.
this. And you start looking at people in a more negative way or more servitive way.
Right.
You know, I need you to respond to me because of my success, or because who I am.
Right.
And that always will lead to confusion within an organization. I was just thinking one time, I was at work doing something. This was a couple of years ago, and a person came, and I was standing, you know, doing my duties, and this person just came and walked right in front of me, right,
Right.
and just stood right in front of me. I'm like, okay, and then they just reached back, put their hand out for me to shake their hand.
With
So I
their
shook
back to
their
you?
hand, with their back like this, shook the hand, and then just stood right there in front of me. I'm like, and this person was my leader. This person
Yeah.
was in a leadership position,
Yeah.
um, and that really threw me off. You know,
Yeah.
that really had me sideways for a minute. But then I came to the revelation that the person has some insecurities
Right.
based on their own upbringing or who
Right.
they were, and this was a way to show dominance,
Right.
you know, of me based upon my position,
Right.
based on what I was doing,
Right.
and let you know, young punk,
Right. Right. In other words, young.
take my hand
Right.
and stay back there, you
Right.
know. And that was prideful,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And those are little, and based upon the success that that person had had within the organization, they felt comfortable enough
Right.
to do that to someone who worked for them, who was a
Right.
key asset. But like you said, those little bricks
Yep.
will build that foundation to demise,
Right.
to a huge fall.
And it's like really like why would you even want to put yourself in a position to belittle people? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean that's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's like one of those key factors is that if you see that, you know, even in your own self, like if you find yourself always finding some type of way to put people down,
Yeah, yeah. Something wrong with
uh,
you.
there's something wrong with me.
Yeah,
Like I'm way off. But the thing is that pride is actually very deceitful.
yeah. What does the Bible say about pride?
Listen, listen. It says right here, Proverbs 16:18, that pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So,
Wow.
so haughtiness, that pretty much like you said, it's like stepping in front of somebody and then putting your hand back here for them to shake.
Hmm.
Um, you know, not just think if you was, you know, old school Lynn. You see what I'm saying? Like
Just
just just
ah,
just hitting right in the back of the neck. You know what I'm saying? Like and sometimes people don't fear that. You know, they don't fear that, you know, that might happen. And like I said, you know, pride deceives you. It
you see that.
it puts you in a position to where you feel like nobody's gonna do anything to me. Nobody's gonna say anything to me.
Right,
And
right.
you know, and then when it does happen, uh, then that's when the fussy, you know, the name calling, the pretty much trying to build a big wedge between, you know, you and them, or them and the kids, or whatever the case may be. You start trying to put a wedge in the between there because basically you don't want to hear anybody disagreeing with you. You don't want any. You don't want any conflict. You only want to dictate it, but you don't want no conflict.
Right.
Because basically, that conflict is basically my fault. Not the fault that you stepped in front of me, but it's because I bust you in the back of the neck. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
so why'd you hit me in the back of the neck? You're a hoodlum. It's like, well, on the streets, if you step in front of some dude, men operate off of respect.
Definitely.
That's our language across the board, and that's black, white, yellow, green, purple, bro. That respect is what is due. And so when
Right.
prideful people, that's how that fall, or you'll find yourself in a position, because basically to move and operate the way God wants us to do as men, you got to be humble.
Got to be humble.
You got to know that there's. You say what?
I said pride is one of the 7 deadly sins too.
Yeah, I mean, but somebody is better than you.
Right.
It's okay. Like I learned at 40-some years old that there's just people that are just better, and I also learned that unfortunately, some people who are better than you are younger than you. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I give it me and you. We're in our 40s.
Right.
We're jumping into this social media land and trying to build and build up our courage to stay, as relevant as possible to get out
Right.
here.
You got some 22-year-olds and some 20-year-olds that's do this in their sleep.
So the thing is that we could be prideful and just go, I'm older. You don't know what I know.
Right.
I've lived longer, and lose, because basically you're not even humble enough to actually take some help so that you can be better. So that's what I was talking about, that no growth. Pride will have you not being able to grow. Like you find yourself actually being stagnant, even in your riches. You could be rich and you could actually be richer, because once you step into pride, it literally stunts your growth. Because you can look right at somebody that's 25 and look at you and call you and say, yo, Land, if you'd have did A, B, and C, you probably would have got 5,000 hits.
Right. Just like that.
Just like that. And so, and right there is where that marker comes of whether you're going to be prideful or if you're going to be, have humility to be able to take instructions from somebody who you really look at and say, I should be telling you something, young buck. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that everybody can help each other in some capacity. And so we have to make sure that that we're using God's word to cleanse us, to filter out all that mess, those imprints, man, that happened from when we were kids. And my dad, like this, we were talking before, and I was like, that's every man's go-to, is that my daddy just wasn't here. And it's like, listen, man, 90% of the men out there on the streets, man, daddy wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
you can't use that as an excuse.
You can't use that as an excuse, not when there's so many avenues to find out the truth about how to be. Like we can find out how not to be prideful. You start with the scriptures. You get along with some guy that can come into your circle to hold you accountable. Accountability will always combat pridefulness. If you can find a place if you can get yourself in a position where you can be held accountable, it will always beat down your pride. Your pride would never be able to step up when you give somebody ownership to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
For things that you say or do.
Yep. That can counsel you, give you some advice.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with you. So sometimes you just need to have a conversation to hear yourself, and that person can just make one statement and you can be like, wow.
Right. I sounded like that.
I sounded like that? Man.
I came off that hardcore. It's like, yeah, dude, for like 2 years. Or or you come to your senses and then it's like, dude, why you ain't never called me? It's like, dude, because you was on something new. You didn't want to hear nobody.
You was on some garbage, man. You didn't even want to hear nothing from me. Right.
You didn't want to hear nothing from me, man. And we partners. And it's like, I may have information for you, and then you might have information for me. But you can't just always have information for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
can't be one-sided.
Yeah, it can't be one-sided like that, man. So so stubborn, that stubbornness, always comes from some type of imprint. Or pridefulness always comes from type of imprint that from somebody in our past or present who shook up our insecurities, who shook up our self-worth. We don't feel confident in ourselves. And so sometimes, some people buckle under it.
Ice.
And then some people you know, try to find another way to thrive in an environment that's so competitive. You know, like I said, if you can't find yourself, if you can't apologize, I mean, that's the first sign that you need to look at, or not just, you know, you people, but anybody. If you can't apologize for something that you did, you're
Yeah,
really creeping right on over.
to the pride.
And pridefulness. I mean, Satan was created out of pride. This is how
Yeah,
tough. This is how tough pride is. Is that Satan was himself was created out of pride. The evil part of Satan, Lucifer, was created out of pride. He was an angel. He was one of the greatest in heaven. But the pride that he had created this evil that we even have in this world today. It's all self. It's all self. It's all, you know, one-sided. It's me, 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 me. And you see where
right.
the world is at today. It's a me world out here. You know, big time, big time. So how do we
Big
change?
time. Yep.
So for give us 3 points on how we can change. Before we close out, we want to get people at
Wow.
least three things. I mean, we know that, you know, giving our life over to Christ.
Right.
We all know that reading His Word will provide some change. Uh, but give us three practical. You know, these the
I
three.
think one of the most practical things we could do is a self-assessment.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great. That's great.
Self-assessment. And that self-assessment can happen in many different ways.
Yeah.
You have a relationship, and when you pray, you do it then. Lord, teach me your ways. Make sure that I am following what you have me to do.
Right.
Uh, if you got an opportunity to get up and do meditation, you still talking to the Lord. You still ask the Lord the same thing. Look in the mirror.
You say make it simple, right?
Simple. Just look in the mirror. You'll be surprised. Honestly, people.
Right. Judge
Quiet.
yourself. Right.
Just look in the mirror.
Right.
Sometimes people like to look in the mirror with adjusted lighting so they can really see themselves. It's
Right.
kind of dark.
Right.
Turn on that light and
Right.
look in the mirror.
Right.
And you'll have a conversation with yourself. You'll look at
Right.
your eyes, you'll look at your nose,
Right.
then you'll just start thinking. And that's one way that can always put you in a, because nobody's perfect. And
Right.
whatever you're judging someone else by, when you look in that mirror,
Right.
that becomes a reality.
Right.
I think another opportunity to prevent yourself from walking down the steps of pride is after your successes, after your accolades, know that God has given you those talents and
Oh
that
man,
grace and
that's
that
good.
virtue to get there. You hear a lot of athletes and a lot of rappers, a lot of actors. First of all, I'd like to thank God. And if you have a true relationship with Him,
Right.
then that's for real.
Right.
And if you understand that,
Right.
then you will always have the opportunity to keep that balance. I like something Denzel Washington said. He said he puts his shoes up
Way
under the
under the
bed.
bed. Yeah, I like that.
So every morning you get up, you got to hit your knees. And he is so successful, right?
Yeah. Right.
And from the people who have met him, they say, oh, he's so real. He's always genuine. Just understanding and being respectful of the
Right.
process.
Right.
We talked about that earlier. On another show, we talked about respecting the process to get you through the promise. And if
Right.
you always respect that process to get you to your success,
Right.
that'll help you. I think that'll help you from going down a prideful lane.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, dude, that was good. All of that was. I think that we should be able to learn from those three pieces of great information. Looking in that mirror that's a
Looking
beast,
in
man.
that mirror, that's the
It's
beast, man.
listen, it's a scary situation to look in
Yeah,
the mirror, man. Nobody really wants to say that I'm this or that.
yeah.
And so it gets really tough. I think
It's really
probably
tough.
that's the biggest struggle
Right.
for many of us is to
Many
actually
people. I
to
say over realistically, Q. I'll say maybe over 82 to 85 population. People say that, I wish I was taller.
Right.
I wish I was been better shape. Oh, my
Right.
stomach. Oh,
Right.
this, oh, that,
Right.
And then they look at themselves, oh my God, these wrinkles. Oh my
Right.
God. Or the gray. Or you'll have no hair. Whatever
Right.
it is, it's something that's going to put you in a place
Right.
that you can check yourself.
Right. And that's okay. That's what we ended on. Just check yourself.
Check yourself.
Or as Ice Cube would say, check yourself before you wreck
Before you wreck
yourself.
young cats don't know
Yeah,
about that.
they don't know. That took it too far back. But But yo, dude, this was a great episode. I once again appreciate you for coming on
Always.
and bringing that knowledge and that full realness to the table as always, man. Listen, everybody, I want you guys to continue to share. Like I said before, on everyone that we're cranking up the YouTube. You can check out the whole podcast on the YouTube. See our interactions, all this laughter you hear, and you kind of get to meet the two fellows behind the podcast. So make sure you guys join in on our YouTube channel.
Baby.
You say what?
I said, yeah, tell them check us out, man. Well, after this quarantine is over, then we'll get together.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna be being able to put together some real deal stuff. But does make sure you guys are also sharing the podcast, share with all of your buddies, your brothers, your uncles, and everybody, man. And feel free, please, to chime in on the comment section if you guys want us to talk about something that's on your mind or something like that. Please let us know. We'll definitely get back with you guys. And you can leave that information at my website, qcrumbey, the number 2 at gmail.com. And that's QCRUMBEY, the number 2 at gmail.com. All right. And we are out. Peace out.
Peace.